I mean, I was with the guy, the second in command, the FEMA head down in Phoenix. And he said, well, we know what's coming down for California because you're getting ready for the San Andreas to break. And that's going to be before the war. I have some kind of, I've been trying to figure this out because I saw San Francisco totally, the pictures of it totally collapsed. And it was because of an earthquake, it wasn't because of the war. So it has to be fairly shortly because these guys are running behind time. The Plan 2000, just so you know, calls for a war to get started in the Middle East in the year 2000. Now they've been trying to do it, haven't they? How much bombings do you have to put up with? Israel was set up in '48 specifically for this purpose. I mean, it's an incredible deal. So you're going to watch. Netanyahu he went up to Russia because he was getting ready. He said, we're going to hit Iran. Guess who supplies Iran with all the nuclear technology? Russia. Russia pulled all their scientists from all of the reactors and everything down there. The Iranians wanted to do was build plants to recycle the nuclear waste. You're all familiar with nuclear power and radiation, what it does? In the United States, you know, they called me a few weeks ago from Alamogordo, New Mexico. There's a lot of nuclear stuff down there. You know what our government's planning on doing? Burning radiation. Does that make any sense to you? We've already tried this experiment, right? The United States, when we discovered nuclear energy, we started exploding nuclear bombs in the higher atmosphere. That has formed an energy beam that has eaten holes through the ozone. None of the CFC malarkey. CFC is the stuff in the refrigerators. It's cold. It goes down to the ground. It doesn't go up in the air. Frankly, the Chinese military, which I talked to, they said they're going to let the West go to war. They're totally aware of it. Today in the paper, you're going to be reading about, quote, China's military. Well, you know what the chairman over in China told our president? You don't know how many nuclear bombs we have. We don't. But they got 1,300,000,000 people. Have you walked over to China recently? You have no idea what 1 billion people are until you walk among them. I mean, look at our population, 325, you know, 3 million plus, 3.5 million people. And we're talking about a lot of people when you come up to 1 billion. Anyway, we have 300 million is what we have in the United States. And I happen to know they're going to have 20 million Americans. That's what they're expecting in the United States. And why do you think they build all these prisoner of war camps? Which I was asked to build one, as you probably know, in downtown Las Vegas. This is interesting because they're happening all across the United States right now because we let ourselves go to sleep and we've been assumed, what's the TV going to be talking about the next 12 hours now? Obama and his health care program. Well, they've already told you it's not going to go. It was basically a control system to get everybody lined up. Under the FEMA rules, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the President already has the authority to suspend the Constitution, whatever that is at this point. And what they do then, they're going to require you to go to the post office and register. And when you go to the registration, you're going to have a current Social Security card. If you don't have it, you're going to have to get one. And they're going to give you the new world, what they call the World Cash Card. That will allow you your rations. Now, who's going to take care of this problem? We can't do it at this point. We can only take care of us, the ground crew, and the rest of us around here to give them information on what's occurring on the planet in a big way. And the big way is we're getting ready for World War III, frankly. The economy is going to collapse. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at that. I mean, you can sit down here with Greed and say, look at how the stock market has gone up in the last day. It only went up another 30 points yesterday. I don't care what it went up. All the Pledge Committee has to do is buy 100 shares of stock at 10 minutes before closing. At any price it wants to, that determines the price of the other 10 million shares, right? Isn't that? I talked to a guy, I have some friends in the three-letter agency, CIA, Crooks in Action. They're all professional liars. Promise me, I don't know a CIA guy that doesn't go to liar school. That's our part of their game. What do you think? You think they're just sitting here, they're out here trying to do things and they don't want anybody to know what's going on. And they have their own little group within a group. It's a crazy deal. Anyway, I talked to one of the guys up and he says, you know, they got swimming pools in houses up in Lancaster and Palmdale inside their houses. And they're making these chemical mixtures, if you want to call it that word, biological mixtures of diseases. So they can reverse the water out of the swimming pool into the water supply system to go to Southern California. Are you getting that? They figure within 5 days they can wipe out all Southern California by just your drinking water. And believe it or not, we were on television. I had Ted Gunderson and stuff. We went on TV and they jerked the program because I had a biologist explaining the program. And this is what Ted Gunderson, former head of the FBI, if you're probably aware of, for Southern California. We were working on this, trying to expose this thing. You guys probably didn't even know that. We're so close to what they got planned because when we set out on the plans was to use neutron bombs on the major cities because the radiation goes away in a few days and we get rid of most of the people, the useless eaters or expendable containers, or today you've got a new title, you're a human resource. Got to make it, well, you go get a job. What does it say? The Human Resource Division? Anyway, that's where you're at this minute. The next thing you got to look at it, that was the plan, but the secondary plan was biologicals. They're much cheaper. So why do you think they want to come out with this mandatory vaccination? How do you create something that will vaccinate against something that we don't even have yet? And who does the testing? If you're going to take one of those things, have the doctor that administrates you swear that he took it before he gave it to you. All right? Because a lot of times that's happening. What's happening in California with the doctors? They're not getting paid right now. So what's happening on that? We've got a lot of foreign doctors that are moving in on their positions, but you're also then getting less care. The United States has moved from one of the best care places in the world down. Now you can go to other places if you need it, but we have to be taking care of our own bodies. We have to know what we are. And what are we? We're a spirit inside this rent-a-wreck. It weighs 22 grams. That actually physically has weight. They've measured it. At the moment of the so-called death, that 22 grams leaves your body. The Russians did a big study on it. They made a movie on it. How many people see 22 grams? Interesting, huh? What's that? That's 4 packs of sugar. You know the little pack of sugar? They're 1 gram. And why did they measure things in grams? You have any idea? Well, when it comes to sugar, you can get 5 grams basically is 1 teaspoon of sugar. Go see how many grams of sugar is in the bottle of Coke. You have any idea? 40 to 45. So if you divide 5 into 40, how many teaspoons of sugar are you taking? 8 to 9. Sugar is carcinogenic and addictive. Start looking at your stuff on it. Don't take the things that are coming down, like all their hydrogenated stuff that they've given you. It's all poisons to your body, whether it's anything. The only good sugar that you can get is probably the natural cane sugar, and you can buy that still. And they ask me more, they go to their billfold first, what am I going to do? I'm not sure what we're going to be doing, frankly. I know I have food. I know water's critical, so I got to be a place there. I know where the water comes from. And I was up in Sacramento with a TV crew team. They're getting all ready, though, to go ahead and look at the dams being destroyed on the earthquake. Did you know that? How many people here on the internet pull up the California earthquake report every day? There's some of them. How many earthquakes did we have yesterday? Over 1,000 in California. Did you know that? Every day there's over 1,000 earthquakes. They just don't report anything unless it's over 3. Am I right? Now, I told you I went to Colorado School of Mines and I majored in geophysics, so I started looking at all these things and trying to put back the earth shifting, the transformation. Hey, it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen at any time right now. I'm concerned. I moved out of Southern California. I live just a few miles from here, because I know what's coming down. I also know that they tell us that we should be above 1,200 feet because the Earth is going to start making its major geophysical changes in the next 3 years also. Now the cycle, remember, the One World Order wants to have their plan done by the year 2012. Why? prophecies say everything's going to be, it's the end beginning. It's not the ending of life. It's the ending of this cycle, the beginning of the new one. We're going into the new Aquarian age of whatever's left. When we go back and look at history, history is 2 words. His story. Always written by the victor. So you don't know if it's real or not. I mean, I looked at a history book the other day for college kids and I said, my God, they got one line that's correct and the next one's a lie. How do kids discern that? Because they just want to get out of school. Isn't that true? The other problem is, what jobs are there out there now? What kids that go to college now, what jobs can they get? We do know they're fortunate because they're less than age 44. That's the cutoff date. Get everybody in the military. Did you know the Army is now hiring high school kids? They don't know it yet, but they're 15 and 16 years old. Their families are being paid $500 a month. They got a guarantee when they get graduated from high school, they go into the military. Did you know that? It's all happening right now in front of us. Was that reported on the local news? See, there's too much information. I'm an information junkie because I love all this stuff, and like I say, I get it all. But I'm also trying to pass it on so you can go ahead and discern it. I want you to go out and research it because that means it gets you off your duff to find out yourself and be part of the ground crew again. We got to gain, the first rule, gain all knowledge. We can't do it in one lifetime. But now we need to awaken because we've run out of time on the planet. Planet's getting ready for this major big stuff, and you guys all want to wait and say, well, why isn't it happening now? Well, pick up the paper. It's happening in other places right now. It just hasn't happened in your backyard yet. Any moment. Is the market going to crash in the next day? I predicted they were going to crash the market 6 months ago, but what did they do? They put in all this new funding stuff. It was all arbitrary. Does anybody really know what they did? Where they went with the money? How did they did that? And does that exist since they can't tell me what money is in the first place? All they did was create more thin air out of it. Now you're all used to using your plastic cards. Get ready. Interest rates are going to go to probably 18 to 30% on your credit cards. And I expect that any moment. You'll get a notice in the next month or 2. Right.
Real estate. Do you think it's going to just stay the same?
Real estate, the question was, the question was, is real estate going to stay the same? No, real estate's going to collapse. It's going to go down because, remember, it's based on the money and borrowing, and it's not going to have it. I'm out of real estate. I don't recommend anybody getting into real estate today. And
you mentioned the central banking system, what it was going to be like, and
the question was the central banking system and what it's going to be like. The New World Central Bank System, which is setting up their program, is to have a one world currency. That's the little. When I flew with the guy the companies in Salt Lake City, they make the New World Cash Card. They've just got through making several 100 million of them. So they're getting ready for this game. I don't know what money's going to be worth and how we're going to be doing it. I got the same problem in Ecuador. They're on the dollar system. The president's going to go off the dollar when our dollar collapses. Well, I just got through reading you what's going on. Other countries aren't taking the dollar. And this big clue from MasterCard and Visa, what did they just say? Well, that's and Discover. They're going to take, you know, if you're going to have a card out of this country using a card, it'll be okay if it's an American card, but you're still going to be charged a 35 to 40% exchange rate. That's an added on. And Europe's already used to value added, but we're talking about just an arbitrary thing because the money's worthless. Yes, sir. The Prime Minister of Canada, the question was, is the Amero going to happen? The Prime Minister of Canada says, no way, we're strong. All the world's looking at that. Why do we want to, again, loan money to a bankrupt? Would you buy a government bond today? It's not supporting, you have to understand, 100%, not 10%, 100% of the income taxes today that are paid today are paid as interest to the Federal Reserve. None of it runs our government. The question was, I've been told to get all my money out of the bank. She's lucky she has money in the bank. Seriously, they're going to shut the banks down. They're already doing that. And when they go into it, the question is how, well, you're probably not aware, MasterCard and Visa, And Verizon had a mistake last week, and their computers broke down, so there was no transfers that were going on all of these accounts. There's a point where you won't be able to access your money. Yes, sir.
George, thank you for being here. When you talk about gold and precious metals, I can't help but think about the seizure of 1933. Can you speak to that?
The question again was, cannot address the problem of the seizures of gold and stuff during 33. Frankly, they didn't seize all the gold. They were going to. They got some of it. But right now, they took care of that problem because, frankly, 80% of the world only thinks that gold is around their neck is in China and India. So they're not going to go out and seize the gold. They don't have the time enough to police it. What they're doing now, and this Homeland Security just made the rules at this minute. If you have $10,000 worth of gold and you sell it to a dealer, they have to provide a 1099. At that time, the government is insisting on you having records when you purchased it. Otherwise, they're going to consider it short-term gain, and it'll be at the maximum rate. To get around that, you sell 8,000. You don't go to the same dealer and sell another 8,000, or go to another. You can go to other dealers. Don't go to the same dealer, because otherwise that's considered the way they got it set up. And this is all in the last 30 days. Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead. Stand up.
Yeah, I was wondering. I heard that the State Department has notified all of the embassies throughout the world to cash in their dollars and obtain about 2 years' worth of their foreign currency in their respective nation states. Is that true, or?
It is true. The question again is that foreign embassy employees, the embassy itself is urged to get at least 2 years' worth of, quote, local money and supply in order to keep their embassy people going. You know, people forget this, just so you know what's going on. The United States has never won a war. Did you know that? Did you know World War II is officially still going? There's a treaty between Japan and Russia right now. They're negotiating on getting rid of the treaty. And if they do that and they become friends, then it's mandatory that we get rid of all of our military bases over in the Far East. Things are real happening behind the scenes on that. Yes, sir. The Prime Minister can't. The question was, is the Amero going to happen? The Prime Minister of Canada says, no way. We're strong. All the world's looking at that. Why do we want to, again, loan money to a bankrupt? Would you buy a government bond today? It's not supporting. You have to understand, 100%, not 10%, 100% of the income taxes today that are paid today are paid as interest to the Federal Reserve. None of it runs our government. Yes, sir. Is the Amero going to happen? The Prime Minister can't. The question was, is the Amero going to happen? The Prime Minister of Canada says, no way. We're strong. All the world's looking at that. Why do we want to, again, loan money to a bankrupt? Would you buy a government bond today? It's not supporting. You have to understand, 100%, not 10%, 100% of the income taxes today that are paid today are paid as interest to the Federal Reserve. None of it runs our government.